Ahoy! Recently I made a video talking about a lot of problems that Smite currently has, a lot of bugs, some that have been in the game for a very long time. My goal with this video was to make HiRez aware of these issues and also have kind of a list of the issues that are currently common. But HiRez actually did me one better and they gave me a lot of responses to these particular issues so that I can share those with you. So first of all, I'd like to thank LermyWormy, who's been on the front of this, as well as Ajax and Isaiah. Before we get into the answers, I know that some of you have gotten a ton of cash the other day, and I want that. I kid of course, but if you're in the fortunate position where you don't quite know what to do with all of your stimulus check yet, then you could consider supporting me on Patreon and help me get back a little bit of all the revenue I lost last year thanks to the lockdowns. There's a variety of different tiers from adblock redemption to various shoutouts in various ways, and you can check them out here. And now let's get into the answers. Now, what's important here is that many answers, for various reasons, can't be super specific and we just get a rough outline. That makes perfect sense. I honestly didn't even expect that HiRez would be willing to respond to most things in the first place, since after all, those are long-standing bugs as well. So I'm happy that we got a response in the first place and I couldn't ask for more. The first issue that currently mostly affects duo lane is the Minion RNG that can lead to you not hitting level 2 of the first wave. Ajax is willing to consider finding more improvements for Minion RNG, but as for now, it seems like it would be a big change to try and achieve perfect symmetry. This makes sense to me since I would assume that even a millisecond indifference between the waves clashing could have an impact on how the AI decides to attack one target, and then resulting from that you could already get some level of Minion RNG. The next issue is the VGS and movement overlap, where in some cases if you do a VGS input too quickly, it'll actually count as a movement input instead. This has been reported internally, but is backlogged at the moment. Lermy said she might be able to push more priority onto it, but isn't sure about that. When it comes to the chat issues, there are multiple different ones. One of the problems that I brought up was specifically for customs, where you will not have any lobby chat at all, which can be very frustrating, especially if you're trying to get things sorted on PTS. This is something they're considering to bring back, and they have forwarded it to the quality of life team to try and implement in the future, but there is no estimated time of arrival yet, so at some point in the future. When it comes to a lot of the other chat issues, for example, the one where your chat in VGS just disappears, or you can't chat in a party or can't whisper and everything, those are symptoms of the chat and party services respectively having issues. These are constantly being improved in the backend, and HiRez is going to push for more concrete improvements to go out in 8.3, so we should hopefully see improvements to this one very, very soon. Another issue was the stuttering, which sometimes happen in game where you just basically have a very brief hiccup of your frames that lasts for less than a second, but it can be measured and then the game goes on like normal and this kind of repeats over time. It seems like there haven't really been too many reports of that in the current season, since most of the evidence that I showed was from old seasons. So the main question here was if this is still consistently happening, and if so, they want to put more resources into investigating. I have since confirmed that I can still recreate this issue easily in jungle practice, and maybe if some of you have stuttering issues in the game, especially after a clean install, then you can forward some of those details to HiRez as well. We'll get to the reporting part and how you do that best in a little bit. And then there's matchmaking. When it comes to matchmaking, there is a fix that is actively being worked on at the moment. This fix will not go live with the next patch, but, I quote, hopefully soon. I am fairly certain that they've been working on this one for a while, so I'm guessing it's probably some bigger behind the scenes stuff that's not that easy to find or implement or whatever. And then last but not least, there was the topic of server issues. I did say that that's something that at least at the beginning of a season is to be expected basically, but again, they also stated here that these are constantly being worked on and they continue to work on them. Now, I need you to listen to the next part closely because it's very, very important, and I've essentially given the wrong advice here in the past. I have told people to use support tickets to report bugs like the ones that I was talking about here. That is typically not the recommended way. Support tickets are good if you have issues with your personal account. So for example, if you buy a skin and the skin doesn't show up in your inventory afterwards or something like that. Anything that is directly related to things in your account purchases where the support can help you individually and it's not an overarching bug. That's where support tickets are good. But for reporting overarching bugs that are in the game, there are other places that are better. And there are quite a few different ones, so I'll give you the options here. The first one is reaching out to one of the Olympians who can direct these to the developers. The Olympians that we currently have are Alpha Jackal, Black Eye, Davion505, Kermikael, Savisaur, Cher, Sinister Phoenix, Tempest in a Teacup, and Whiskey Worm. All of them are typically easiest to reach through Twitter in my experience, though a lot of them are active on Discords as well. But if you don't use Twitter, that's no problem either. There are also bug report Reddit threads whenever there is a new patch or PTS. There's always a bug mega thread that will be pinned at the top of the subreddit usually, and if you go into that thread, then you can report all the issues that you experienced during PTS and they will be looked into. If Reddit is not your place either and you're more of a Discord type, there is also the official Smite Discord. In that, there is a channel called #ReportABug, and as the name implies, this channel is for bug reporting. Let me ask specifically that you please check if the bug was already reported multiple times before into something, so that you don't spam the channel with the same report over and over, because it gets quite crowded there. Then you can also reach out to Titanforge employees. Let me specifically write here, however, it is beyond incredibly important that you do not harass employees. Not every Titanforge employee wants to be roped into bug reports and threads, but if there's an urgent bug that needs to be fixed, employees will know the correct internal location to report them and get them fixed ASAP. The best people to contact are the community managers as well as QA analysts. That is Titan Cupcake, Titan Isaiah, Titan Orvi, Titan Capslock, and Titan Lermy. Again, likely best reached through Twitter. Outside of that, you can also contact professional players or content creators. They usually have a way to direct bugs forward, but it shouldn't be your first address. Typically, it's easier to just go straight to the source essentially, because it is kind of likely that the report would end up in the same place anyways. And in that context, since a lot of you reported bugs on the last video, I won't be able to go through them all myself, so feel free to direct them to the right places yourself now that you know where you need to go. Let's quickly talk about what a report should include as well. It can, for example, be a text description, pictures or screenshots, videos or clips, or log files from the game. A good bug report includes as many of the following things as possible: a detailed description of the bug, a concrete set of steps to reproduce the bug, and if it involves being in-game, this set of steps must be performed in a net game. That means you have to have at least a bot in the match and not just jungle practice. Screenshots or videos of the bug happening, a match ID of a game in which the server issue has occurred, a log file of a game in which the crash occurred. A bad bug report would only include a very basic description of the bug, like my game crashed, no visual included in the report, no steps to reproduce the bug, or being angry in the bug report itself. Match IDs are primarily useful when there was a server issue, but not that useful for most games, since normally an employee can't go back and replay the matches, since not every match is recorded. Logs are particularly useful when there's a client or instance crash, meaning the Smite application itself closes, or an instance crash being when you get kicked back from the home screen when you're in the game. And those logs can be found under documents/mygames/smite/battlegame/logs. I will link the document with all these report tips down below so you can check it out for yourself, and everything is linked in there so you can just click straight into that, so that makes things a lot easier for you. Again, it is incredibly important that when you experience a bug that you just go ahead and report it so that HiRez is aware of it. If no one's reporting bugs, then HiRez has no way of knowing about them. And I'm sure most of us would like to see those type of things improved. If you're new to the channel and you want to stay updated on these bugs as well as other Smite changes, then feel free to click the sub button and maybe the bell. Before I go, I'd once again like to thank Titan Lermy, and I'd also like to thank That Nick Walker, Donald Dryden, Melancholy Gengar, Dwayne Brennan, Zed the Undead, Nevitz Jr., and everyone else listed here for making this video possible. If you want to see or hear your name here as well, feel free to hop over to my Patreon. With that, thank you guys very much for watching, and I hope to see you for the next one soon. Duke Sloth, out.